is Larry Wilmore, host of the nightly show on Comedy Central. First of all, thank you for being here.
Reverend Al, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And let me say at the outset, you and I have respect for each other, know each other. We can disagree without being disagreeable.
Absolutely, I've respected you for years and years. You've stood up for too many good causes, Reverend.
And I respect you. We disagree on the term of the N-word. Tell me why you did it. You knew it was going to cause controversy. You knew people like me was going to say,
yeah, I know.
That's inexcusable.
Slap my hand. No, well, to me, it was at the point where I wanted to make a statement more than a joke. I didn't view that portion as a joke. And I really wanted to explain the historical implications of the Obama presidency from my point of view. I'm the same president. We graduated from high school at the same time. And a lot of people don't have awareness of how racism exists to the people who are it's being affected by. They just see things like the Civil Rights Act, you know, slavery and events like that, but they don't have the experience of it. And that's why I wanted to point out how, in my time, I experienced a black man not being able to be a quarterback of a football team. You know, people thought there was a problem with that. And to see this man as leader of the free world meant something that worlds couldn't put into justice. And when I think about the hundreds and hundreds of years of a particular word being used against us to take away our identity, and now to turn that around on its head, something that's normally done in private, I acknowledge, and to make it public, I thought was, you know, a statement.
But you do understand that no other group in this country turns around the words that degrade them. Well, I think the problem I have is if we said that about any other ethnic group, they don't take the power out of a word that is offensive to them. So why is it our responsibility to do that?
I don't know if it's our responsibility. I don't know if any other group has been enslaved like we were either, has had the particular experience that we've had in America. And not only that, but there was a Jim Crow laws that were done against blacks. You can still find in deeds where it's against the law or against a certain deed to sell to a black person.
Which is all the more reason why I don't want to see us take the power out of something that was structured to degrade us. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
And I'm 7 years old. I'm you and Obama's generation. This is not generational. Because you have young students that turn out at University of Missouri and other places didn't want to be called a word. And this is a debate in the community. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about all of us trying to figure this whole thing out together.
You're absolutely right. And there are different approaches to it, you know. And many people don't want to hear the word at all. They're completely, I don't care what context it's in, and I completely respect. I'm a satirist, and I've used the word in satire in many different ways. One of the bits that I did at The Daily Show with Jon Stewart when I was there with John Oliver, there was a city councilman who wanted to ban the word, and we did a whole satirical take on that. And it was very politically incorrect, but that was another way to use it in a way that exposed some truth underneath it. You know, so as artists, we use words that other people would never use and find dangerous, but it's part of what we're doing in our art.
And you also said something in an interview that got to me when you said that you heard some policemen when you were younger use the word. And, you know, people see you're successful on TV. Tell us about that.
And Reverend, my father worked in law enforcement, too.
Right.
So they had, there was something going on next door, and the police were, like, banging on the back door. And it sounded like they opened it. I was maybe 6 or 7. And they said, "Freeze nigga dead." I apologize for using the word like that. But that's what they said, you know. And we were like, and here's the thing. In that context, at that time, as shocking as it wasn't that shocking in that time. But it was an indelible mark that it left on me and my brother. And even then, we used it joking. And I know that's hard to understand, but we would throw it back at each other. Maybe we were trying to take the pain off of it or whatever. But that, to me, I heard power telling us that we were nothing in that moment. And think about a child hearing a word like that. You know, I've been called the word growing up and that type of thing, and other, you know, by stupid people and that sort of thing. But that particular instance, I think it hit me in a way that it never quite did before, you know, or I should say after. You know.
Now, let me ask you, as you look at race in America and we deal with all of these issues, given the reaction, given the discussion this week, would you do it again? Would you use that word, that setting?
Well, it's funny. I always hate to use time machine scenarios, you know, where, You know, I think it's more, for me, I feel it's more instructive to deal with the humanity of where we are now in this moment, and what do we do with it now? What's the conversation that we get to have because of it, you know? I think because it was his last year was the inciting incident for me, you know. In any other year, I certainly wouldn't have done it. There was something about summing up where we've gone that kind of spoke to me. And it's hard when you're talking about artistic choices, what you would have done differently. I mean, some people pointed out you could have said my brother. Sure, I could have said that.
Yep.
It would have been a different moment, absolutely.
And I looked at it the same way differently, because I said this is his last year, and I didn't want the last word, him walking off being called the N-word. I mean, that's how I looked at it.
Yes, I completely understand that. And it's funny because I felt like at that point I was making a statement rather than...
Oh, you made a statement.
I know. And by the way, Reverend, I'm prepared to live with the consequences of it. I understand that. And I have to say that the president was very gracious and very kind in his statements, you know.
Yeah, he was.
And I acknowledge that.
I want to get off just that part for a minute, because I think everybody understands your views and mine. One